Welcome to Money First CEO, the podcast for business owners ready to run their business like a boss and make their money work smarter, not harder. I'm Harman Johnson, bookkeeper, Profit First professional, business coach, and mum of two from Sydney, Australia. I've built a thriving business by mastering money habits and systems that create real freedom. This show will help you take control of your finances so you can build a business and life that truly works for you. Every episode delivers one powerful takeaway you can action right away for more clarity, confidence, and cash. And from time to time, I'll be joined by special guests, fellow entrepreneurs, experts, and real business owners, sharing their money wins, lessons, and insights to inspire your next move. Because when you put money first, you unlock the options and freedom you deserve. So hit follow, grab your coffee, and let's dive in. Hi there, and welcome back to the Money First CEO podcast, where we believe if you put your money first, the rest will follow. I'm your host, Harman Johnson, and today is a special episode. We've hit 50 episodes, almost a year, and I still can't believe it. When I started this podcast, I had no idea if anyone would even listen. I just knew I had something to say that could help other people, something that I wish someone had told me earlier in my own journey. So to mark this milestone, I wanted to do something different today. Instead of teaching a concept or breaking down a strategy, I wanted to get personal. I wanted to answer a question I get asked a lot. If you had to start all over again from zero, what would you do differently? No audience, no clients, no momentum, no reputation, just me and a decision to build a business. I would do a lot of things differently, not because I failed. In fact, I've built something I'm really proud of at Blue. Hindsight is a gift, and now I can see clearly what actually moved the needle versus what just kept me busy. So today I'm walking you through exactly what I do. Step by step, just the moves that actually matter. Whether you're just starting out or you've been in the business for years and things still feel harder than they should. This episode is for you. The very first thing I would do before worrying about branding, building a website, posting on social media is to set up my money structure. As a Money First CEO, we cannot bypass that. Not day 100, but day one, because this is when most people go wrong. They start a business, they focus on getting everything else organized, getting clients, delivering the work, and they figure the money side of things will sort itself out later. It doesn't. What happens is you develop habits, bad ones. You get used to operating with one bank account, spending whatever's there, not paying yourself properly. By the time you're doing decent revenue, those habits are baked in and they're really hard to break. If I was starting from zero, I would implement Profit First from day one. I would open the 5 core bank accounts before I even have my first client. Income account where every dollar lands first. A tax account because the ATO doesn't care if you're a startup. They want their money. A profit account because profit is a habit, not a reward. An owner's pay account because you deserve to be paid for your work from the very beginning. And an operating expenses account where you run the business from what's left after everything else is allocated. Now, I know what you might be thinking, Harman, I'm just starting out. There's barely any money coming in. Why would I set up 5 bank accounts for a few $100s? It's because habits don't start later. They start small. So if you wait until you're making good money to build a system, you'll never feel ready. There'll always be a reason to delay. There'll always be a bill to pay first, always something more urgent. But if you start the rhythm when the amounts are tiny, it becomes automatic. And when the revenue grows, the system scales with you. You don't have to retrofit it. It's already there. And I think back to when I started Blue, I didn't set this up from day one, and I wish I had. I spent the first few dollars stretching from operating from a single account, guessing what I could spend, hoping I'd have enough for tax, and it created unnecessary stress. So when I finally implemented Profit First properly, the shift was immediate. Not because of revenue change, but because the clarity changed. I could see exactly what every dollar was doing. I could make decisions calmly instead of reactively. And that's what I do from day one. Build the system first and let the revenue catch up to it. So the accounts are open, the structure is in place. Now what? I would decide my allocation percentages straight away, even before the money starts flowing in properly. Most people wait until they feel ready to start paying themselves, until it feels comfortable. And that's the mistake, because there is never enough. There's always going to be another expense, another investment, another reason to put yourself last. So I would set my starting percentages early. Something like 1% of profit, 10 to owner's pay, 15 to 25 to tax, and the rest for expenses. Are those numbers perfect? No. And they don't need to be. The exact percentages don't matter at the start. What matters is the behavior, because once you build a habit of allocating, once your brain gets used to the rhythm, scaling the percentages become easy. Going from 1% to 5% profit is nothing once the discipline is there. But going from 0 to 5 feels massive, and that's a jump most people never make. I would pay myself before I felt comfortable doing it. I know it feels counterintuitive. You're starting a business, cash is tight, every dollar needs to go back into the business, right? Wrong. If you don't pay yourself early, you train your business to survive without paying you. And that becomes hard to fix later. Your expenses expand to fill the space, your business gets used to having all of your labor for free, and before you know it, you're 2 years in, working 50-hour weeks and still not taking a proper wage. I've seen this so many times with our clients. They come to us doing 100 grand a month and they're paying themselves inconsistently or not enough or not at all. And when you dig into why, it's always the same story. They never set it up properly from the start. So even if it's $50, even if it's $100, I would take it every single time money comes in, because you're building a business, not a job you don't get paid for. And here's what happens when you start paying yourself from the beginning. You gradually increase it. As revenue grows, your percentage stays the same or goes up slightly, and over time your owners pay bills naturally, sustainably. You don't have to make a dramatic decision one day to start paying yourself properly. It's been happening since day one, and that shift is a mindset. From I'll pay myself when I can to I'll pay myself first always is one of the most important identity shifts you can make as a business owner. It's the difference between an operator and a CEO, and it starts on day one. Not when it's comfortable, not when it's easy, from day one. The next thing I would do differently is build my financial team as early as I could afford to. I know when you're starting out, money's tight, every dollar feels precious. Paying for professional services when you're barely making revenue feels like a luxury you can't afford. But the value a good financial team adds outweighs the cost. The earlier you have them, the fewer expensive mistakes you will make. When I say financial team, 3 key people. A bookkeeper, someone who keeps your numbers clean, accurate, and up to date. Someone who sets up your zero file properly from the start, so you're not trying to untangle a mess 2 years down the track. Someone who gives you regular reporting in plain English, so you can understand what's happening in your business. And the second one is an accountant. Someone who handles your tax strategy, your structure, your compliance, someone who helps you plan ahead instead of scrambling at the end of the financial year. A good accountant will save you money. A great accountant will save you stress. And a lawyer, even if it's just for the basics at the start, someone who reviews your contracts, reviews your privacy policy, terms and conditions, and someone who makes sure your contracts are protecting you. Someone who helps you set up your business structure properly. Now, I'm not saying you need all 3 on retainer from week 1, but all I'm saying is you should engage them as soon as you can. Even if it's just an initial setup session or a consult with each of them, even if it's a consult to get the foundations right, because the alternative is what I see all the time. Business owners who do everything themselves for the first 2 or 3 years, they do their own books in Xero, but half the transactions are miscoded. They file their own BAS, and they've missed out on a lot of GST credits. They use a template contract they found online that doesn't actually protect them. And then when things get serious, when revenue grows and the ATO asks questions, when a client dispute happens, they're scrambling to fix things that should have been set up properly from the start. And the cost of fixing is always more than the cost of setting up right. I think about my own journey. Things I tried to do myself early on ended up costing me more, not just in money, but in time and energy. Time I could have spent on clients, energy I could have spent growing. So when you have a financial team, even a small one, you get to focus on what matters most. Serving your clients, building your offer, growing your revenue, because the back end is handled. The compliance is sorted, the numbers are clean. Having professionals around you give you confidence. When you know your books are right, when you know your tax is sorted up to date, when you know your contracts are solid, you show up differently. You make decisions faster, you take on bigger opportunities. You operate with certainty instead of anxiety, and that's worth every cent. If I was starting from zero, I'd find a good bookkeeper first, get my Xero set up, and then bring in an accountant for structure and a lawyer for contracts as soon as the revenue allows it. It's an investment in your business's foundation. The next one is something I'm really passionate about. If I was starting over, I would educate myself on the numbers. Not all the numbers, just the ones that actually matter for running a business. Because here's the reality, most business owners don't understand their numbers. Not because they're not smart enough, but because nobody ever taught them. Nobody sat them down and said, here are the 3 or 4 numbers you need to watch, and here's what they mean, and here's what to do when they move. They hand it all over to the accountant and hope for the best, and then they make decisions based on gut feel instead of data. And gut feel is fine sometimes, but it's not a strategy. If I was starting again, I would learn 3 numbers inside out. Number 1, my break-even point. This is the minimum revenue I need to cover all my costs, including pay myself. Not a rough guess, an actual number, so that every month I know if I hit this number, I'm covered. Anything above is growth. Knowing your break-even changes how you think about sales, how you price, how you plan, because you're not just chasing revenue for the sake of it. You're chasing revenue with a purpose. Number 2, my gross profit margin. This is a percentage of revenue you keep after the direct cost of delivering your service. If you're a consultant and you charge $10,000 for a project, but it costs you $3,000 in subcontractors and tools to deliver it, then your gross profit margin is 70%. Why does this matter? Because it tells you how efficient your delivery is. If your gross profit margin is shrinking, something is wrong. Either your pricing is too low, or your delivery costs are too high, or you're doing too much for free, and you need to catch that early. And number 3 is your net profit margin. This is what's left over after everything, after direct cost, overheads, after your pay, after tax, and this is the actual profit your business generates. And you need to know this number, not approximately, not I think we're profitable, but actually knowing it. If your net profit margin is 2%, you're essentially running a charity with extra stress. You're doing all this work, carrying on all this risk for almost nothing. And if you need to know that you can fix it. On the flip side, if your net profit margin is 15 or 20%, you're in a strong position. You can invest, you can hire, you can build a buffer, you can make decisions from strength instead of survival. These 3 numbers, break even, gross margin, and net margin, would be on a sticky note on my desk if I was starting again. I would check them every single week inside Xero, not to obsess over them, just to stay aware. Because when you look at your numbers weekly, nothing surprises you, and that's the goal. No surprises. I set aside 30 minutes every Monday morning. I call it the money date. Pull up Xero, check the revenue for the week, check the expenses, look at the trends, ask myself, are we tracking towards our break even? Is the margin improving or shrinking? Are there any expenses creeping up that I need to address? That's it. 30 minutes, and it would save me from every financial surprise I ever had in those early days. And this is what I mean when I talk about thinking like a money first CEO. It's not about being a finance expert. It's about being financially literate enough to run your business with clarity, to know that you're in it for good reason, to know that you're actually making money. If you're not, what's the point? You could get a job and have less stress and more certainty. The other purpose of running a business is freedom, financial freedom, time, creative freedom. But if the numbers don't support you, you don't have freedom. You have a prison you built yourself. Education is the antidote. Learn your numbers, understand them, use them, and watch how differently you show up as a result. If I was starting again, I would be ruthless about expenses. Absolutely ruthless. Not cheap, but ruthless. Cheap is not investing in things that matter. Ruthless is cutting everything that doesn't directly support revenue or delivery. I would not spend money on fancy branding too early. A clean, simple brand is fine when you're starting out. You don't need a $10,000 logo and a custom website before you've signed your first client. I got my logo for $5 from Fiverr. When I started out, I've changed like a few times over the years because that money is better used elsewhere. I would not stack up software subscriptions. Every tool needs to earn its place. If I'm not using it daily, it goes. Because $30 here and $50 there, it does add up fast. I've seen businesses spending $2,000 to $3,000 a month on tools they barely touch. I would not make big team hires early. We covered this in a previous episode, the $100,000 mistake. Early hires done from overwhelm instead of data create pressure fast. I would keep things lean until the profit is consistent and the systems are in place. At the start, your job is simple. Make money and keep money. That's it. Everything else can wait. Someone on social media is talking about scaling and building teams and 10xing their revenue. But the businesses that last, the ones where the owner is actually happy and financially free, they're built slowly. They're built with discipline. They're built with their numbers guiding their decisions. I would rather have a lean business doing 50 grand a month with strong margins than a bloated business doing 200 grand a month with no profit and constant stress. The size of your revenue doesn't determine your success. The health of your profit does. Now, there's one exception I'd make early. A VA, virtual assistant. Even just a few hours a week can be a game changer when you're doing everything yourself. Think about how much of your day is spent on things that don't generate revenue. Inbox management, scheduling, chasing invoices, formatting documents, updating your CRM, admin that has to get done but doesn't need to be done by you. Every hour you spend on admin is an hour you're not spending on clients, sales, strategy, on the things that actually grow the business. VA at 5 or 10 hours a week is not a big financial commitment, but the time it frees up, that's where the return is. Because now you can focus on what matters most. Revenue generating work, client relationships, building your offer, and it's also a stepping stone. It teaches you how to delegate, how to brief someone, setting up your SOPs, how to let go of tasks, and those skills you'll need when your business grows and you do start hiring for bigger roles. While I keep things lean on full-time hires, I'll bring on a VA early, even before it feels necessary, because the time you get back is worth more than the cost. The last thing I would do differently is I would network with intention from the very start, not just networking for the sake of it, not just handing out business cards. I mean, putting myself in rooms where other people are doing what I'm doing or further along than I am and learning from them, because building a business can be isolating, especially in those early years when it's just you. You're making every decision alone, carrying every problem alone, and you start to think that everyone else has it figured out except you. But when you get into the right rooms, something shifts. You realize that everyone has the same challenges: cash flow stress, hiring headaches, pricing anxiety, imposter syndrome, all of it. You're not behind, you're just building. You'll learn shortcuts, real ones. Someone in the room has already solved the problem you're stuck on. Someone has already made the mistake you're about to make. And if you're willing to listen, you can skip years of trial and error. I think about the people I've met along the way who have shaped how I think about business. Other bookkeepers, business coaches, accountants, founders who gave me perspective I never would have found on my own. And those relationships are worth more than any course or tool or strategy. So if I was starting out again, I would find my people early. I'd join a mastermind or a business group. I'd go to events even when it felt uncomfortable. I'd reach out to people I admired and I'd ask for coffee. I'd invest time in building a network of people who understand the journey, because the truth is, you don't build a great business alone. Build it with the right people in your corner, people who challenge you, people who support you, people who hold you accountable. Find those rooms and get in them. If I had to start again from zero, here's what I'd do. I'd implement profit first from day one. 5 accounts, separation, structure before revenue. I'd set my allocation percentages early, pay myself from the first dollar. I'd build my financial team, including a bookkeeper, accountant, lawyer, as early as I could afford to, because the value they add far outweighs the cost. I'd educate myself on break even, gross margin, and net margin, and check them weekly so nothing surprises me. I'd be ruthless with expenses and delay hiring until the numbers support. I'd get in the right rooms. Surround myself with people who are ahead of me, learning from them and not trying to do it all alone. If I had to sum it all up in one sentence, I'd be this: I wouldn't chase growth first, I'd build control first, because a business that makes money but doesn't keep it will always feel harder than it should. And once you fix that, everything else gets easier. So thank you for being here for 50 episodes. I appreciate you. I believe every business owner deserves financial clarity, and I'm going to keep showing up every week to help you get there. So your one takeaway is open your accounts properly, income, tax, profit, owners pay expenses. And even if you're just starting, even if there's barely any money coming in, set the structure now, because the best time to build your money system was day one. The second best time is today. And that's it for today's episode. Keep putting your money first and the rest will follow. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for hanging out with me on Money First CEO. If you got value from this episode, hit subscribe, drop a 5-star review, and share it with someone who's building their business too. All the goodies are in the show notes, and you can find me on socials for more tips and tools to help you. Until next time, keep putting money first and the rest will follow.